Aloha, Adjut King here. Yeah, so I had some questions on my Gerber Airlift video. And that's my Gerber Airlift is this knife right here. Now, first of all, I want to say absolutely, Gerber is not a brand to trust. Okay, am I trusting this? I'm trusting this knife. I'm not trusting the brand. Okay, I know my knives. I know that when I got this knife, it was I had a Smith & Wesson knife. Okay, and it was a good knife. I liked it. It worked excellent. Did all these things, but it had a micarta handle. So the micarta handle was crumbling. It was dropped the knife a couple of times and it was cracked and it was coming apart. So I was looking for a knife that was all metal. Okay. And I saw this one, I'm like, yeah, cool. And then I saw it was Gerber and I'm like, oh, does it really have to be a Gerber? Well, I needed a new knife. This knife was, I think, cost me $23 at Tractor Supply Company. So I got it. Now I've had it for a year and I like it. Now what do I like it for? Well, the number one thing about this knife that I like isn't the blade, it's this clip and it's this. Okay? So the clip helps keep this on. It's a really stiff clip and it's on there really good and it doesn't seem to get loose or anything. It stays on, okay? And go for a hike, it doesn't fall off my belt. I can go through the woods and it doesn't get knocked off by random vegetation that brushes up against me. It won't knock it off. If it does come off, the only times this knife has come off is when I'm taking off a shirt. Sometimes a shirt will catch it just so and it'll pull it off and I get that clank. That clank, I can hear that clank. I can drop this over and over again too and it'll clank every time and it doesn't even phase it because it's all stainless steel. So that's really kind of the thing and this kind of blows people's minds. If you've been living in the industrial age, which we all have, and everything's all convenient, you're always going to the store, you just think, oh, well, I'm going to get the knife I want to get, and then if you lose it, you just go buy another one. Okay? I got this because I don't want to lose it. This is going to be like a shit hits the fan knife. And truth be told, having a knife is more important than having a sharp knife, actually. It really is. I did a lot of most of my survival experience comes from living in Hana, Maui, which is a really nice place to do survival, but it's still survival nonetheless. There's one store in town, one general store, and they often don't even have knives. They might have some cheap, dollar store knife that is being sold for $10. Because it's Hawaii and it's expensive. So even if they've got a cheap, crappy little knife, it's like a $10 knife. And most of the time, I wouldn't even bother. Usually I'd have a machete and then I would use my machete if I needed to cut something. But, you can't go walking around the city with a machete, so I got this. And for, general day-to-day type things, it works great. For outdoorsy type stuff, let's say I needed to bushcraft myself a set of chopsticks. Could I do it with just this knife alone? Yeah. I've batoned some things, and I can baton with this, and I can cut a small branch, and then I can split it up with this and make myself some chopsticks if I want to have something to eat with. It's nothing major, but does it work? Yeah, it works. Totally works. But there are some other factors too. If I use it a while and it starts loosening up, it's got a screw. I can just tighten up this hinge and good as new. And I've tried it. It works. If I need to take it apart, I haven't taken it apart yet, but if I wanted to take it apart, I can undo these screws. They're all just flathead screws. I can undo them, put them back together. And not that I expect to have to do that, but again, most knives are just riveted. Some of the knives that I've seen that do have functional screws have, you need a star tool to get into them, to operate them. I don't have a star tool. I don't want to bring a star tool along. Okay. But the only thing about this knife that I'm not super stoked about is the blade. but that's because it's a very hard temper. It's stainless steel, it's not gonna rust. I put this through some abuse and it's pretty much as good as new. It doesn't get lost, like I say, that's major. Can I sharpen it? Yeah. And does it cut paper? Everybody wants to know if a knife will cut paper. Yeah, sort of. Yeah, it'll do it, but is it the greatest at cutting paper? It's nothing special, but does it do it? Yeah, it's sharp enough to cut paper. Basically, yeah, you could skin a squirrel with this. You could gut a fish with this. Cuts leather, plastic, paper, cordage, does all these things. Is it the greatest bushcrafting knife? I would say no. I would say get a fixed blade knife. Condor makes some great ones for about $60, $70 or less. You can get a good Condor bushcraft knife. But can you carry a bushcraft knife around here in Roswell? No. No, the cops very much frown on people that carry fixed blade knives around here. They don't want to see it. Not that I'm planning on having any altercations, but I do like to be within the law. So, you know, if the police say this is an acceptable knife to carry, then great. I got it before I got to Roswell. It's typically good knife anywhere. Cops, you know, small folding knives, the cops understand, yeah, it's just carrying a knife. You got a fixed blade knife, they're like, oh, it's a big deal. It's not the case with this one. So overall, for an everyday carry knife, something I'm going to have on me all the time in case, you know, something goes down, it's a good knife. It works. I like it. I mean, like I say, I'm not super stoked about the blade. It's a Gerber. But, you know, honest to goodness truth, I expect this knife to be with me for years to come. And that's the thing about it that I like, is that it's going to stay with me. It's a strange way to look at it if you haven't looked at it this way before. But like I say, out in the jungles, you lose your knife, you ain't got a knife. If you're out in the desert and you lose your knife, you ain't got a knife. If you're in the mountains and you lose your knife, you ain't got a knife. So the fact that this one stays with me is actually more important to me than having one that has got the super ultimate samurai blade on it. That category, the samurai category in a folding knife doesn't really exist anyway. So there you go. Anyway, it's a good knife and I like it. Aloha.